Hello, hello, hello. Testing, testing. Can you hear me, guys? Punet, how are you, man? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I think we can be heard. Yay! Excellent, excellent. How are you guys? How's it going? There was a time change over here. We went from summer daytime saving or whatever into winter. So now it's a little bit earlier than I thought it was going to be. It's 9 a.m. over here. I think it's like 9 p.m. for you guys, right? There we go. Cool. Just give me a couple of minutes, guys. I'm gonna upload this to my Facebook to let my students over there know that we're gonna be streaming, and we'll be ready to start with today's video. We're gonna be working on the rendering. We're gonna be taking a look at Marmoset. We're gonna be rendering this inside of Marmoset to see how nice we can make this look. Let's go. I just want to go a little bit higher here on the exposure. There we go. Let's take a nice screenshot so that it looks fancy and with a lot of stuff that hopefully will pick up people's interest. Let's call this your own screen. There we go. Let me just 1 second, guys. You can start asking questions if you want, by the way, in the comments. I have them, or in the chat. I have it right here. Let me know if the video is okay, if the audio is okay. I had some music. Let's play some music. Let me know if the music is at a good level so that you can hear me and a little bit of the music. I know. Tomorrow is Halloween. But tomorrow's Monday, so it's a really weird day to have the end of the Halloween week. We're still gonna have a special video though. I'll record it later today. I'll answer the questions in just 1 second, guys. Just 1 second. I already seen them. Just give me 1 little second. I'm just finishing posting this on Facebook. There we go. So let's see the questions. How am I? I'm doing great, Farhan. Glad to see you here in the chat. I was Well, this was a very fun week, to be honest. I enjoyed it a lot with the Halloween special, and someone suggested that we can do like a Christmas special on December. I think that's gonna be fun as well. So yeah, I'm doing okay. There's still a lot of a lot of work that I need to finish. I'm doing the premium course. I'm doing the more videos here for the channel. I have my stuff here at the studio. So it's been busy. It's been busy, but things are good. Things are good. Aditya says, did you make the alpha on the Veil with Photoshop? No, my friend, I did not. I actually downloaded it from the internet. I just looked for I forgot the name of that thing again. It's called Lace. Lace. If you look for Lace on the internet, you should find like examples, and some of them are tileable. So I did look for that one. Let me see if it's right here. There we go. It's this one right here. So I did invert the thing so that the flowers were white and the bright background was black, so that we saw the flowers. And over here, we just increased the tiling of that texture several times to get a nice distribution. We did that on the video, so if you want to check it out after the live stream, it's going to be like somewhere around here. Fact Archive says, have you ever competed on the rookies when you were a student? Yes, I did compete back in the day. I didn't win, but I did compete. Some of my friends did win. Back in the day, let me show you who won. There's this guy who was on my class. His name is Beat Reichenbach. He's an amazing, amazing artist. And he won. He won the rookies that year. I think he won with this piece right here. This was like 7 years ago. I think this was the piece that he used to win that one. I'm not sure if that was that piece or if it was this piece. He was an amazing artist. Like, I remember when I was a student and I was just like learning 3D, I had like 2 years of experience. He had like 10 years of experience, and he was still a student. Well, it wasn't that he was still a student. He went back to Noman to get more connections and more stuff. So, but he has a lot of experience. He's a really, 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 really good artist. So yeah, I did compete, but I didn't win. Yeah, Beat. Oh, you're at Noman then? Yeah. If you're at Noman, then of course you know Beat. I did. If you're at Noman, they did pick one of my sculpture statues for the ones that they like hang all over the place. One of mine is, I believe, on the main lobby on lab 2, 3, and 4. I think that's the one. Where the arcades are at. If you go through the door, last time I remember it was like up there. It's like a satire holding like a skull like this. That's my piece when I was yeah, there you go. There you go. I always forget who I talk to here on the YouTube, but yeah, that's my piece. And there's a couple of my portfolio pieces as well on the walls. Yeah, I'm not gonna go over this. It's just too I don't know. In Spanish we call it, it's vanidad. We're just talking about yourself. Let's go with this, guys. Let's start talking about how we're gonna get this into Marmoset. So the first things we need to do is we need to export the textures here. So I'm just gonna go export, and let's select here on the desktop. I'm gonna create a new folder just to keep things clean. Let's call this Llorona. And right there is where we're going to be exporting. And this is the first question, right? Like, how are we supposed to export these things? Do we export the documents channels and just get like all of the information there? Do we export the in like a specific engine that we want to use, like Arnold or Unity or Real? It really shouldn't matter that much. Like, you pretty much can do whatever as long as you know how to connect things. I am going to go with Unreal Engine 4 Packed just because I like this one a little bit better. It saves a little bit of space and resources. So I'm going to go with that one. I'm just going to hit export. And the reason why I like this one is if we go to the output templates, as soon as this is finished, there we go. If we go to the output templates and we take a look at Unreal Engine 4 Packed, you're going to see that the color has the color and the transparency. This one has 3. It has the roughness, metallic, ambient occlusion, roughness, and metallic. And then normal map and emissive if we were to have, but we don't. So it's a really, really nice a way to save a little bit of resources on the texture side of things. So yeah, now that we have this, we're gonna jump into Marmoset. Let's jump into Marmoset. Marmoset is one of my favorite softwares to do quick renders. It's not the best. I'm gonna well, that's not that it's not the best. It won't give you the most exact renders. If you want like precision on your like light calculations and all that stuff, you need something a little bit more advanced, such as Arnold. But it will give you some really, really good renders. If you're thinking about going into the gaming industry and you want to present your things in a very nice light, Marmoset is a great software. It's very cheap. I would say it's cheap-ish. it has some nice discounts. If you guys are thinking about buying anything about 3D or 3D related, wait a little bit because we're about to get to Black Friday. I think at the end of November is Black Friday and then Cyber Monday. And in the United States, they always do like this big offers with licenses and subscriptions and all that stuff. So if you're thinking about getting some licenses, just wait until the end of the month, and you're gonna get some nice stuff. So I'm gonna go here, file, and we're gonna import the model. Of course, we need to import La Llorona model, which I don't remember where it is. Unfortunately, I think it was on the. There we go. It's this one. Yeah, there we go. So this is it. We got the model here inside of Marmoset, and we need to start building the textures. So let's start with the body, which is I would say the easiest one because it's a flat texture, right? So if we go here to Llorona, you're gonna see that we have all of these layers. I'm gonna make them a little bit smaller. Let me see if I can keep like both things here so we can see all of them. There we go. So the good thing is when we exported this thing from Maya in the last video, in the texturing video, it already gives each object on the character a specific material, right? So you can see we have Lambert 2 right here, and we have fabric, whatever number that is. And we know that this is like the main body. So I'm just going to rename this to main body. And Lambert 2 is the veil. So I'm going to rename this to veil. There we go. So on the main body, let's start by adding the color. Well, I'm going to go here to the veil. I'm going to turn it off so that we can focus on the body first. I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to go to the albedo map. Albedo is the color. We just drop this in. And there we go. We got the same color that we have in Substance. It's right here on the inside of Marmoset. Now that we have this, I'm going to go with the normal map, which is going to be really important because that's the one that's going to give us the nice like microsurface detail that's going to break up the light. You can see like some scratches there. There's like little bits, little things right there. That's really, really important. And then now we go for the roughness map. And here's where things get a little bit tricky because as you can see, this map right here looks really weird. Normally a roughness map is a black and white image, but this one, in this case, it's not. It's a different color, right? That's because again, on the red channel, we have the ambient occlusion. On the right, on the green channel, we have the roughness. And on the blue channel, we have the metallic. So the roughness, as I just mentioned, is on the green channel. So I'm going to drop this here. But as you can see here where it says channel, I'm going to change this to green. That way, it's accessing the information from the green channel. And as you can see, we get this very nice, like dry effect on the cloth. Then if we go down here, we're going to have the occlusion pass, and we can add an occlusion. And here on the occlusion, I'm going to add the exact same image, but I'm going to keep the red channel. And as you can see, we're going to get a darker colors here on the wrinkles of the element, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Fact Archive says, I don't, okay, well, let me go in order. Farhan says, can you plan for full hard surface mech high poly with bakes for gaming assets? Yeah, we can add that to the pipeline. I'll tell Nolene if we can add that to the next premium courses, or just like a small exercise on the YouTube channel. That sounds good. I don't mean this in a rude way, but in a lot of ways, Noman is amazing, but in some ways, it's lacking a lot from my experience. They don't focus on VFX very much at all, more so games and animation. Yes. Noman has a really, well, a couple of years ago when I was a student, the focus was like commercial and film. They taught us like Mari and of course ZBrush and very, very heavy like CG, cinematic render kind of things. And then people started asking more about like games. I was actually one of the first students that took some of the game classes that they were offering because it was on 2015, at the end of 2015 and beginning of 2016 when they started teaching more like game stuff. And I'm not sure about how it is today. But yeah, I do know that if you want to go for like simulations and stuff like that, unfortunately, there's not a lot of like schools that focus on that because it's a super niche market, right? However, I've always said that one of the main advantages of going to a university or a school is the connections that you make, the discipline that you develop, and the work ethics that you build, and of course the all of the information, right, that you can do. But a lot of this, guys, it's you are responsible for looking for the things that you want to learn, right? The school is going to give you an offer. Sometimes there are good schools, sometimes there are bad schools, but it's up to you as a student to also try to look for those sources. Happy to see you as well, Hitesh. Hello from Taiwan, says Peter Lane. I have been following you for a long time. First time to watch live streaming. Very happy because I'm in different time zone. Yeah, I tried to do it earlier today so that everyone could have a chance to watch. And yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, you mean the in film? Yeah, I don't know what happened. Oh, because I haven't been at that school for in a long time. But yeah, maybe they changed the focus to games. The market also has to kind of like adapt itself, you know. So I know that in the last couple of years, thanks to Unreal Engine and stuff like that, people have been looking at games in a different light because it becomes easier to do games. So yeah, again, my advice would still be pretty similar. Like, try to find the things that you want to focus on and try to look for other sources of information. Also, try to approach the teachers. If there's like one teacher or two teachers that you know are doing the things that you want to do, approach them at the end of the class and say, hey, I'm trying this, I want to do this, could you help me? Could you give me some exercise or some like extra homework or some extra resource that I could like look up and learn from? They might not have enough time to really like be there with you one-on-one, but if they can point you towards what you're looking for, that's also a great way to advance. So coming back here to this guy, we already have the occlusion map, we have the roughness map. We really don't need a metallic, but I think we did add a little bit of metallic to the blood. So I'm going to go here to the metalness map, and I'm going to change this to blue. There we go. Cool. And that's it. We got the maps ready for this guy. Now I'm going to go to the veil, and let's do the same process. So we're going to do the color. Let's turn on the veil. There we go. That's the color. Now, here's the important part. For the transparency, we're going to go all the way down here to transparency, and we're going to use dither. Do not use cutout, because if we use cutout, as you can see right there, it looks very cut out, right? It's very difficult to find exactly the effect. It looks very harsh on the elements. So we need to change this to dither, which is going to give us a soft effect, which is going to be a little bit closer to what we had. Then here on the alpha, we can actually play around. We can invert the alpha. We can do a lot of different things. Right now, I think this is what we're looking for. I'm going to do some shader things in just a second, but that will be the color. And I don't remember there being a lot of information here, but I am going to add the normal map. And I am going to add the roughness map. This is the green channel. And then the occlusion map. There we go. It says Fact Archive. I've already been doing 3D for 3 years, so I'm not too worried about not learning what I want to. It just surprises me how little they focus on film-specific skills. I guess it depends on the teachers. Again, as I mentioned, when I was there, most of the teachers had film background. I'm not sure if now they changed that and it's more game background. But most of the skills, I would say, most of the skills are interchangeable. It's just about learning a little like specific things about the pipeline, and you should be able to adapt them pretty easily, I would say. 3D Learner says, hey, I have a very serious question for you, or maybe you can say a guidance. Tell me first, can you help me? Hope you can help me. Yeah, what's the question, man? Just ask the question, 3D Learner, and I'll be happy to help you. Cool. So while we wait for more questions, let's keep going here. If we go to the Jorona body and also the veil, you can see that when we go inside, we don't see the objects. This is very, very common for game things, where the camera will only render what's on the front, right? So on the back side of the faces, you're actually not going to see anything, and that's not what we want. You can change that very easily by going, sometimes it's on the shader and sometimes it's on the geometry. In this case, it's on the geometry. So we're going to go here to Jorona Veil, and there's an option that says, this one, callback faces. I'm going to turn that off, and that way we are going to see both sides of the cloth. This is, of course, going to generate something called draw calls. So there's going to be 2 draw calls because the camera has to analyze the front of the faces and the back of the faces. And that's going to be just a little bit more expensive. But yeah. And then this one right here, we're going to do the same thing. Draw on the body, we turn off callback faces. And that way we're going to see the inside right there. Cool. Now comes the interesting part, because technically what we've done here, it's pretty much the same thing we had in Substance, right? It's just the textures on the element. And yes, we have a light that we can play around. But here's where the fun starts, because we can actually start playing to with the shaders of the material itself to get it to look more like the material that we want. So let me go very quickly for some reference. They're applicable either way, but games with animation focusing on looking good, while film RG need to achieve realism. Yes, you are totally right, man. The priorities are way different. I do more game stuff. I do, of course, I do like renders and stuff. We did the cinematic course recently, but yeah, most of and that's again, that's the nature of the industry as a whole. Things are moving into the sort of real time thing, so that's why a lot of like game strategies and pipelines have been more important. But I know where you're coming from. Talha Raya says, "Hi, your tutorials are masterpieces." I wouldn't say they're masterpieces, but I'm glad you like them, man. I've always considered myself like a really good instructor for beginner level students. I like to get people into the 3D world and realize that it's simple and easy to understand, and you can do it. But there's other artists out there that are really, really good. And 3D Learner is preparing the questions. Go for it, man. Go for it. I'm a little bit nervous. So let's look for a veil, right? So if we take a look at the veils from brides, you're gonna see that they had this very interesting opacity to them, right? And I want you guys to pay attention to the following detail. When you see a veil and there's like a wrinkle on the veil, like this, like thin, like elements where the veil sticks together closer, you get like a denser, more what would be the word? You get less transparency, right? It looks more opaque. I think that's the word. It looks more opaque, and that's because, of course, transparencies are being added together. That's a property that some materials have, and you can actually like play around with them. In this case, here inside of Marmoset, there's this thing called. There's a thing that we can use to change that, which adds a little bit of that, it's not a clear code, is it? Or is it the microsurface? Where is it? Now I can't find it. Let's go to advanced metalness. No, it's not that one. Where is it? It's like a sheen. It's usually like a sheen that we get. I remember there was one here. Let's try the clear code reflection, GGX. And let's try gloss. No, that's not what I'm going for. Huh, that's really weird. Jack says, I'm also a fan of the tutorials. I started just a month ago with modeling, and you have practically done 80% of my modeling homework. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. And Fact says, I would love your tuts if I did games for characters. I just watched because I like your enthusiasm. That's great. If you're here for my personality, I'm not gonna complain. Yeah, there used to be. I'm not sure if it's the material here. We don't need the textures anymore, so I'm gonna go full screen. And let me see here. Because there's a way that we can... There we go. Microfiber? Is it microfiber? There we go. Microfiber. So I'm changing the diffusion to microfiber from Lambertian, which is just like a traditional material, to microfiber. And with microfiber, we can add this thing called the sheen. And the sheen, as you might expect, is that like extra little like white effect. See this thing that we get here on the... Where the folds are like coming together? That's the kind of stuff that we can play around. And this is, look at this. This is no sheen, like just like transparent. And as we increase the sheen, we get that very nice soft effect on the character. We can change the tint if we want like a different color. I think we're fine there. We can reduce the roughness or increase the roughness. In this case, I do think we want to increase the roughness. And that's going to give us a more like translucent effect. So... Okay, let's see the questions here. 3D Learner says, I'm very, very confused. I want to do 3D, but I'm unable to figure out what I want to do in 3D. What to learn, where to start, where to end, how 3D exactly works in the film, game, printing, advertising. Okay. So, as a general rule of thumb, 3D Learner, there's like, I would say 3 main industries. There's the advertisement industry, there's the games industry, and there's the film industry. Those are like the three main ones when you get into 3D. Film and advertisement are really similar, as we were talking here with Fact Archive. They follow similar processes. So if those are the things that you want to do, fine. The other one is games, and the process is a little bit different for games because you need to focus on different things. But either independently of whatever of those you want to start, you need to grab something called a 3D package, right? Which is it's going to be like your pillar where you're going to be developing all of your skills. Some people like Blender, some people like Maya, some people like 3D Studio Max, some people like Houdini. There's a lot of them. If you want to get into the film industry or into the games industry, in a AAA studio, like in a big studio, I would recommend Maya. Maya is a great way to start. And we do have courses down here in the description. There should be the links to our places so that you can go and learn Maya. Learn how to model simple props, how to model how to do renders, simple animations, that sort of stuff. Once you know a little bit about the areas, that's when you decide where to go. Do I like modeling? Do I like animation? Do I like effects? And you start learning more about those specific areas. Tushar, the show reel. Remember the portfolio reviews? We do them on the middle of the month. So we're gonna have actually the submission link is already open. If you navigate to the last portfolio review that we did, there's going to be a link in the description that you can use to submit your stuff, and I'll review it next on November 15th. Dude, please says I'm here from Dave School in America. Hope your weekend is well. Trying to finish modeling my Flak 88 model before tomorrow. There you go. In fact, Archive there helping me with the questions. Thanks, man. Yeah, those are great answers. You are welcome, my friend. So there we go. We have the nice this sort of transparency that we want here. Now, technically, we could go to the main body and we can add a little bit, I would say just a little bit of subsurface scattering. So I'm going to go here to transmission. I'm going to turn on subsurface scattering. And what this will do is we can make it so that the dress lets some light through. And as you can see, especially here, on the wrinkles, you're going to see that instead of being really flat, hard wrinkles, they start softening up the shadows a little bit. This is, of course, a little bit more expensive. But it is going to be interesting. As someone who went to grade school like no one, what's your stance on average art schools for 3D? Oh, for average art schools for 3D, schools who aren't focused on 3D. I mean, if you want to do traditional art like paints and sculptures and stuff like that, they're good. Some of them some of them do seem to be scams, to be honest. I have a friend, unfortunately, she went to a school. I'm not gonna name my friend or the school she went to, but she spent a lot of money on that school, and then she got out, and her skill level, the things that she produced weren't that good, and she has been struggling the last couple of years to get a nice paying job because she was not prepared, or the school didn't prepare her enough. So if you guys are thinking about enrolling to a school, always make your research beforehand. Check about who is graduating, the portfolio that they're graduating with, stuff like that. Okay, let's go to the sky and let's change this to something a little bit more interesting. And I mean, what else can we ask? Let's go with this abandoned house attic. I think this is going to be the best one right here. There we go. So as you can see, this already gives us a really nice, creepy vibe to the whole thing. We can do a backlight. We're going to be tweaking the light and everything. So but this is already going to give us a nice start. Normally, when I start lighting, we're going to start now with the light part of this process. When I start lighting a scene, which I know lighting is always tricky. People struggle with how to light things, right? You always want to start with a base light, right? So what I do is I go with my sky and I bring the brightness all the way down, or really, really low, so you can barely see what's going on. And you're gonna position a new light. So I'm gonna click on this little light bulb right here. I'm gonna position a new light, and that's gonna be what we call the key light, okay? If you've ever seen anyone doing drawings and stuff, they always talk about the key light. And the key light is the main light that's going to be, lighting your subject, right? It's the main light that's going to be on the face of your subject. I've shown you guys my studio before, but I have two big lights, one here, one here. They're 400 watts lights. They have like a cloth cover so they don't make me go blind. I have a reflector over there. Like, there's a lot of light right now here at the studio, but my main light is this one right here, the one that's directly above of the camera, so that all of this part of my face is lit in a nice way. And you can see that there's a little bit of a shadow on this side of my face. This light right here, we're gonna talk about this one shortly, but we're gonna be, but this is called the field light, which helps me soften the shadows over here. So, we go here. This is software, Mohammed, and this is called a Marmoset. It's a real-time rendering software. Shaura, I'm good, man. Are there any alternative for texturing XYZ? Because it's costly for students. Substance has free stuff, to be honest, and nowadays with AI art, I know some of you guys have, I have my strong opinions about AI art. You could generate your own textures, like if you just generate like skin pores and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's just noise, or it's not just noise, right? But it's just like fine detailing texture that you might need. There's also people that create their own like skin textures. You can create your own skin textures, by the way. So I'm gonna move this thing here, and let's think about like a scary looking like light here. I think we want to do like there we go, like a very scary old house, like a light coming from the top like this. Look at that. It looks really nice, really creepy. It helps us with this like super hard shadow here on the back. And now a couple of things that we can do. First of all, we can change the color of the light. Colors are really important for the like effect or the mood that we want to go for. I'm gonna go for like a warm tone. Because if you remember, like, or if you've ever been to this like old houses, old cabins, most of them have like incandescent bulbs, and they are like warm, not super warm, because I still want to see like the color there, but they get this like beige tone to it, and as you can see, we get this very nice effect. We can play around with the diameter of the thing. The diameter is gonna soften the shadows, so the bigger the light, the softer the shadows. I don't want super soft shadows, but I do want there to be, I guess, something like that sounds good. Says Fact Archive. My friend here at Noman made a photoreal Audrey Hepburn with a hand-painted face texture. You can see it on the GNOME, and this is only entering. Yeah, hand-painted textures are really good. Like I've used XYZ textures before. I do have some of them, but I've also done like a traditional, just like creating your own skins from scratch, and it works just fine. It of course takes a little bit longer to do, and it won't look as nice. But I was talking about this with one of my artists here. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, fortunately, nowadays, if you want a realistic, like super hyper realistic character, you just scan the actor, right? You just photogrammetry and you just scan the actor. Anyone can do it, even with your phone. You can scan someone, and you're gonna get really nice textures, really nice proportions, really nice everything. So realism is no longer that hard to achieve, as long as you know how to go about it. I'm gonna invert the roughness here because I want the veil to be rough. And I'm gonna bring this in a little bit. There we go. That way it looks a little bit flatter. One more question. I love advertising. How also it's good for freelancing? Oh, advertising for freelancing, it's the best. Like, that's the easiest way to get like job things or job done. Because advertising usually are like short promo videos or like things. So you can render it on your own. Like here at the studio in Hyperlab, we do a lot of advertising. That's our main focus, to be honest. Advertising in games. Hello, sir. How can I submit my weapon for the weapon contest? That's a great question, Nicholas, and I'll answer that on tomorrow's video. There's going to be a link to the Google Drive folder, and I'm also going to include my email so that you can email to me to make sure I get it. Tomorrow it's the final day, so make sure to get it ready. But there's also a link. I think it was on the last weapon thing that we did. There's a link there as well that you can use. Or throughout the week, I remember I submitted the link. But yeah, you can do the link on Google Drive. Cool. So that's the first light. This is the key light, as I was mentioning. This is what we're going for as our main like protagonist light. Now I'm gonna use the sky that we have here. I'm gonna start bringing in a little bit of the light, and this is gonna help as my background light. What do I mean by this? If we only have one light, as you can see right here, yes, this looks really creepy, this looks really intense, but it looks very dark, right? The contrast is way too much, and it becomes a little bit difficult to work with this. So by bringing in a little bit of this light from the background, things are going to start looking more realistic because there's bounce light going around, and we get this very interesting effect. We can move this around. I think I want to keep it here on the back. And I usually don't like having this as the backdrop, so I'm going to bring the backdrop brightness like quite low so that it's quite dark. Something like that, and that way we can focus only on the character itself. Yeah, it looks scary, that's the point. And it looks quite different from Substance, right? Like that's the thing. You can get a really nice like texture, like what we did here with the dress. But the render is what's really gonna like tell the story. It's what's really gonna be like selling the piece, if you wish. We're gonna build a small little environment, by the way, super simple. But I want to do something to make it pop a little bit more. So that's the second light that we're adding. We have the first light, which is our key light right here. I think I'm gonna increase the brightness just a little bit to get something a little bit more visual there. There we go. And using the sky again with a very low brightness, we get this right here. Now we need to add the rim light. The rim light is a really important thing. They use it quite a bit in film, actually. And the rim light helps to push the character out of the background. It's this right here, right? So it's usually a light that's behind the character, on the side to the character, and it separates the character from the background. You're not gonna find this on the real world. For instance, this thing right here, I'm pretty sure there's probably like one extra rim light somewhere over here, like a fake light, because it's quite difficult to get this on the real world. It's unless you do like a back shot or something. But we're gonna do that. So we're gonna go here to the back of the character. I'm gonna add another light, and as you can see, that light right there is gonna help me with this rim that we have right here. We can increase the brightness to really separate the body from the rest of the elements. You can see the light there and there. We can also increase the diameter if we want to soften the shadows. That will be like a big light. That will be like a doorway or like a window or something where light is it's what's the thing, like light is coming through. Let's bring the brightness just a little bit down, and I do want to change the color. Let's see if we have a warm light, having a cool rim light is gonna give us a nice contrast there. iRay takes a lot of time, and that's not even gives the clear render. I'm talking about, yeah, Substance Painter. Yeah, iRay is good when you just want to throw in like a quick render for someone to see, but I never use that for final render. That's exactly it, Peter. We did use Lady Dimitrescu as a reference. No lights, no. We need to add a little bit of light. Sometimes I've seen some scary movies where things are really like lit and stuff, and like there's a lot of light. That's what I mean, and it is quite scary as well. There we go. Now, Marmoset has something really interesting, which is the ray tracing. If you're using Marmoset 4, which is the newest release, you actually have access to ray tracing, like in Unreal Engine and all of the other softwares. And this is really good to get even more realistic looks. You can see it changes this thing quite a bit because light is going to be bouncing around more and more with the characters. So as you can see right there, there's that changes how things look quite a bit, but I do think it looks quite nice. I think maybe the transparency is a little bit too low now. So we might want to push the alpha channel back a little bit so that we can see a little bit more of the character. You don't need a ray tracing card like an RTX, but you do need a powerful graphics cards or dedicated graphics cards to get the ray tracing to work. You can see the difference. That's without ray tracing, and that's with ray tracing. So we get softer, more exact looking renders. Did you use transparency as a cutout? Yes, I did use transparency. I used this on the dether option. Very important that you use the dether because cutout is going to give you really hard cuts and shadows, and that's not what I'm going for. Time to get lit if you... No. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's not something you can get. If you're in California, that's something that you can have access to. But here in Mexico, it's really difficult. And I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. I don't really mind if people do it, but I don't like it. Could you share a few words about the difference between modeling and sculpting? Modeling usually involves like polygons and things like bevel, extrude, like creating a model that has nice topology. That's the kind of stuff that modeling usually focus on. And sculpting is usually more for organic stuff. So if you're doing characters or monsters or creatures, even environments, you can do a lot of sculpting. They are like quite interchangeable because even though you can sculpt a character in ZBrush, for instance, if you then need it to work for production, you're going to have to retopologize and create a model that it's a workable model for animation and stuff like that. So you need both of them at the end of the day if you're going to be a 3D artist. Okay, so let's go for the background that I mentioned, because I do think that's going to really help the overall like piece of the character here. As I mentioned, it's going to be a very simple background. So let's go to Maya real quick. Let me get some water real quick. Yeah, so 3D Learner, if you want to learn advertising, as Fact Archive is mentioning, Houdini is a really powerful software. There's another one that I could recommend, which is Cinema 4D. Maxon has that software, and Cinema 4D has a lot of motion graphics. Advertisement uses a lot of motion graphics. If you guys have seen a student is doing their professional practices here with us, and she helped us with the intro that we now have. That's motion graphics. That was done in After Effects, of course, but it is a skill that you might want to have. So motion graphics with Cinema 4D. If you want to learn something, Cinema 4D is a great way to start as well. 3D Learner. So let's grab La Llorona again. There we go. So what we're gonna do is small environment. As I mentioned, I want to do like a hallway. So I'm gonna start with the hallway itself. It's gonna be something like this. Let's push the hallway back. And then I'm gonna rotate this around. Minus 90, oh, no, it's not that one. Here, minus 90 degrees. There we go. We push this up. It's gonna be the wall, right? One of the walls. And then we're gonna do this, rotate this around. It's gonna be 180 degrees. It's gonna be the other wall. And then we need like a doorway, right? I think a doorway is gonna be fine here. We might need to like rotate and move things around a little bit, but this should work. So I'm just gonna Control D again. This is Maya, by the way, 3D Learner. So this is one of the softwares that I was mentioning that could be a really good way to start your 3D career. So we're gonna push this like that. So move this like this, and then I'm gonna do a cutout of the doorway itself. It's gonna be like that. Cool. And finally, we need a ceiling, right? If we want this to be as exact as possible in regards to light, like bouncing around and stuff like that, we need everything to be enclosed. So this is what we're gonna have. I do think having a window on this side might not be a bad idea. So I'm gonna add a window right there. This could be like, I'm thinking of this like an asylum or something like that. There we go. So I'm gonna start doing one at a time to keep things as clear as possible and to make sure everyone can follow along. Maybe not right now, but later on if you wanna come back and watch this thing. So the first thing is the UV, right? So this thing changed proportions quite a bit, the floor. So I'm gonna select the floor. I'm gonna freeze the transformations, and on the UV, I'm just gonna say Control U, which is unfold, and then Control L. To make sure that this thing is as nice as possible, I'm just gonna rotate this around. And there we go. So now that's a proper UV. Let's export this. So I'm gonna say File, Export Selection, and Desktop, Llorona. This is gonna be Floor. Let's go to Marmoset, File, Import, Llorona, Floor. And there we go. We got the floor, right? So one of the great things, or one of the things I love about Marmoset 4 is that we actually have a library of textures. So we can go here to our texturing panel, which is a different element. And here on materials, I can look for wood. And it has a lot of like pre-generated like things. So as you can see, we have this like pine bark, stained age, reclaimed, a little bit of everything, right? So I'm gonna use like this pine stained aged. Gonna download this, just double click. And that's one of the advantages, I've mentioned this before, of having a license. When you buy original software, you have access to the features that the software is giving you. So I can just bring this in, and as you can see, I can get it on the floor right there. I'm gonna go to the texture options. The first thing I'm gonna do is I wanna rotate the texture. So we're actually tile the texture. So by tiling the texture, as you can see, the size of the texture is gonna be smaller, closer to what we would expect the planks of wood to look like. I'm wondering if there's like a way to offset. No, that's offset U, offset V. I wish we could rotate it here, but I don't think we can. Very quick solution to that. I'm just gonna go back to Maya, grab this UV, just rotate this sideways. And if we re-export, just a file, export selection. And then we go back here, it's gonna update. And now as you can see, the fibers are going vertical with the character, which is what we want. Let's grab the walls now. So let's grab this walls. I'm gonna go to UVs. Well, first of all, we need to freeze the transformations. That's very important. So freeze the transformations, make sure everything is at 0. It's kind of in Blender, they call it apply transform. So Control U and Control L. Let me go modify layout. I'm just gonna change something here. Let's this, and we're gonna rotate 90 degrees. There we go. Or actually not rotate. I'm gonna do horizontal. There we go. So Control U, Control L. Ow. Didn't work. Apply. Horizontal. There we go. So now they all fit the same room. Grab these three guys, file, export selection. These are going to be walls. Go back to the render, and I want you guys to pay close attention to what's going to happen here. When I import the walls, as you can see, right now the lights are not working as intended. But if I change this to ray tracing, boom, we see nothing. Nothing at all. Why are we not seeing anything? Because we don't have, or like this thing doesn't know that this light should be like going across the surface. So I need to bring this thing back, right? Or move it down so that we can actually see it. Now, for instance, this one right here, I'm gonna move it to the back like this. So this is like the window, or so that this light is shining through the window. I'm gonna even move it a little bit more. It's gonna be doing something like this. That way we can recover some of the sort of like a rim light that we're going for. Says that was quick. What, the walls? Yeah. Luis says I'm looking for a full ZBrush workflow from modeling to texturing and render if possible. Any ideas where I can find something like that? We do have the solder course, the stylized solder. We take a look at Maya, ZBrush, Substance, and rendering. We also have the Demon character creation. It depends on your level. If you're a beginning level student, then I might recommend other. But let me know what skill level you have, and I'll be happy to help you. No, don't worry, Akuma. We're just working here a little bit. I actually started a little bit earlier. I know I mentioned I was gonna do it like at 10 o'clock or something, but they changed the time zone. Well, not the time zones. What's the word? The winter saving time and stuff like that. yeah. The unfold shortcut is Control U, and Control L is the shortcut for layout. So for the walls, I'm not sure what I want to do for the walls. Let's take a look at this things and see if we find something interesting. I don't want bricks. I know I don't want bricks. Bricks is a little bit too much. I think I just want like this sort of Like this ceramic ancient and worn actually looks interesting. Let's download that one and see how that looks. Because it has like texture to it. How can we get render results without RTX like this? If you don't have access to an well, first of all, you don't need an RTX card. You can do this with a normal GPU. Earlier this year, I used to have a 1080 GPU, and I was able to use RTX here because it's not using RTX card. It's using ray tracing like settings inside of Marmoset. It's gonna be slower, but you're gonna be able to get it. So let's add this. There we go. That's it. That's what I want. Look at that. Look at that texture right there. Amazing texture. I'm gonna add it everywhere because the color of the texture is gonna impact the ray tracing effects that we're getting here. So that's gonna be an important one. So yeah, like that. Let's go here. I might just change the tiling a little bit to add more texture to it. There we go. Perfect. Now let's add the door. So I'm gonna grab this guy. We also need to freeze the transformations. Just do a quick UV. Control U, Control L. There we go. And let's say I'm gonna lower this. I think it's a little bit too high. I'm gonna push this. There we go. That's a super tall door. That will be something more like that. Cool. So let's just move this a little bit to frame it. File, export selection. I'm gonna call this door wall. File, import model, door wall. And that door wall, we're also gonna add the ceramic tile to it. There we go. Okay, let's answer some questions before moving on because we're gonna add more details here. Charmine says, may I know what kind of softwares do you use when you're making your projects? Well, if you take a look at the channel, you're gonna see that we've been using Maya, Blender, Substance Painter, ZBrush, SpeedTree, Marmoset, what else? That's pretty much it. Unreal Engine. Like I consider myself to be a generalist, so I know a lot of different softwares, and I use whatever software I need for the specific thing that I'm going for. Hi, can you do a female character on ZBrush Maya course, please? I already have a female character. We did that for the 3D printing one. It doesn't have retopology, but we do have that one. Let me show you real quick. So we did the 3D printing course, and we sculpted this character right here. And it's a female anatomy class because we do the whole body first and then we pose her. And then we 3D print it, of course. So if you want to learn about like female anatomy and how to sculpt it, that one I can recommend. But yeah, we'll do something about that. What about Victorian wall textures? That look fancy. Yes, they would look fancy because they have all of this like details, but I think it's gonna be a little bit too noisy. And you always want to play around with how much detail you want on your image overall. We're gonna take a look at the camera shortly, and you're gonna see that if we make the walls too intense, it will take away from the character. Okay. Luis Antena says, I have some experience in sculpting and modeling, so it's a medium low average. Okay, in that case, I could recommend the Demon Character Creation for Games. That's a course that was one of the first courses that I did for Nexttut. It's available on the links from the description. Skillshare, Udemy, all of those sites. And it's a full pipeline of creating a demon character, texturing it, retopologizing it, and getting it into Unreal Engine. So that's a great way to learn the whole workflow. Maya, Substance, Marvelous, Action is a must for any character arts pipeline. Yes, I would agree there, Gary. Those are really important. Hey sir, I'm a beginner at the gaming modeling. I want to learn Maya, ZBrush, and other software. Can you suggest as per level goals? If you're a beginner, we have the complete guide to Maya 2022 and the complete guide to ZBrush 2022. Both of them are great ways to start on Maya and ZBrush respectively. If you want to learn a little bit of hard surface as well, Luis, we also have the one called creating a stylized character for games, which is like a soldier, kind of looks like a Fortnite soldier. And that one I do teach like hard surface modeling instead of Maya as well. So it's Maya, ZBrush, Substance Painter, retopology, a little bit of everything. There we go. So now let's go to the camera. The camera is one of the most important things, and it often gets like ignored. So I'm creating a new camera here with this little camera icon, and I'm gonna jump into that one. So I'm in camera 1 now, and I'm gonna look for the composition that I wanna sell, right? The problem with cameras I've seen throughout my life as an artist is people want to make sure that everything is shown. They are really scared of not showing everything that they've done. So for instance, the blood that we added, you barely can see it on this particular scene, and people would like really focus on the blood or something to make sure like you know that there's blood there. But you need to understand that when you're doing this sort of renders, the most important part is the story that you're telling through them, right? So what we can do here is we can first of all change the angle of the focal length. Right now we have a 28.97 focal length. That's really what's getting into the wide lenses. If we make this lower, like an 18, as you can see, we can go for this very scary composition where we see a lot of the background. But that might not be what we want, right? If you want more something closer for like a character, we can go for like a 55. I love using 55 lenses. It's really good. Yes, we're gonna have to cut out a couple of things from the character that we're not gonna be able to see, like the bottom of her skirt, because we will need to like really go out of the way, something like this. But it can also be done. And or you can go like really high to like a 90. This is more like for like a portrait. We're gonna do a portrait. This is probably what I would do for this. But in this case, I think going for like a 55 is gonna be a good lens for us. And we can go for something like this. Good evening, Sanskar. Good evening. Oh, that's a great question, Rakesh. I'll answer that in just a second. Give me just 1 second here. Now, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pop this one out, so that way I have access to this window while I'm working on perspective. So I'm gonna make this smaller. This is gonna be like on this part right here. Well, probably like right here. I'm already thinking that this is going to be like a vertical composition. It's not very common to have vertical compositions, but her frame is really like a slim. So we're going to go for something like that. And over here, I can change back to camera 1 or to main camera. And I can play around with the lights because I don't like the position of some of these lights. I'm thinking about like pushing this a little bit further forward. I want to make this very natural looking. So the kind of light that you would expect to find in this hallway, right? Something like this. Now I am missing. I do miss a little bit of the rim light, so I'm gonna change this light from a spotlight to an omni light, which is like a sphere, as you can see right there. And I'm gonna bring the brightness down. I'm gonna see if I can place this like somewhere kind of like hidden from view, but that we can still get some illumination. So something like this. This is very common in films, by the way. They will add like fake lights that you will not normally find in the real world. But these lights will definitely help like illuminate the scene a little bit more than you might or yeah, just a little bit more. So for instance, here I can use this big light that's gonna be off camera, so people are not really gonna see it, and it's gonna really help me like see that there's like some blood splatters right there. Okay, let's answer some questions. So first of all, there was a great question by who was it? Rakesh. He says, how to be highly creative as a 3D artist. Recently, a very good illustrator passed away. I wasn't like I didn't follow him, but I knew it was a big news on the art industry. Kim something, I think. Illustrator passes away. Kim, I think his name was Kim. Yeah, Kim Jung-ji. He was a great artist. I wasn't a huge follower of his, to be honest, so I can't really give you a big information about his life, but he was great. He was a big impact on the industry. So he died very young, 47 years, and he had a quote that I really like, and he's totally right about that, which is you need to get experiences. You need to experience things outside of the digital world so that when you come back to the digital world, you can get those experiences in. So I recommend playing games. I recommend reading books. I recommend going to museums, going to like the theater, to like plays, and I don't know, like just exposing yourself to things outside of the digital world so that you can learn and be influenced by those things and then get those into your artwork. Recently, I've been reading Brandon Sanderson, Mistborn. I finished the first book. It's really good. I really liked it. And those kind of things that they kind of like when you read someone else's work, when you learn about something new, that kicks off your brain and you start imagining things, right? And that's what you can get into this sort of elements. Hello, Burhanuddin. Sanskar says just completed Maya Chess. Yeah, that's a really fun class. I love that class. Gary asks, does anyone still use 3D Max? Yes, I know a lot of people that use 3D Studio Max, especially for modeling. I don't think they use it for other things. I know there are some oh my god. I know there are some like plugins that are really good for like effects and stuff. But I think a lot of people nowadays have jumped into Maya. That's right. What about some blue light for nightish creepy vibe? Yes, I'm gonna add that. Do you have a realistic looking character class in Skillshare? Not yet. I think the most realistic one was the demon, semi-realistic, but I am working on, like, the character I'm working on right now is a lot more realistic than what I've done before. So that one's really good. But if you want for hyper realism, we have the one with Anthony Hopkins, like how to create a realistic portrait, I think it's called. That one's a great class as well. Rakesh says, hi, what are your current daily life routine and how your life is going? That's a great question. So I normally wake up at about 7:30 in the morning. That's when my baby girl wakes up, and she pretty much wakes everyone up. So I wake up at that time. I just take a bath, have breakfast, and by 8:30, 9 a.m., I'm already here at the studio. The morning from 9 a.m. to like 4 p.m. is usually dedicated to the studio things that we do here. And then from 4 p.m. to like 10 p.m. is when I tend to work on the Nexttut stuff. And other things, right? Like running errands and stuff like that. That's usually it. And then after 10 p.m., if I still have energy, I'll play a game, or I'll read a book or watch a series, stuff like that. Not super interesting. Well, it is interesting because we do a lot of things, but it's not like I do like a lot of elements. I'm gonna add another light bulb down the hallway. Whoa. So I'm gonna push it down the hallway just so we see a little bit of light right there. I would expect it to see where the door frame starts. There we go. Looks good. And it helps, again, like separate the character from the background because the background was really dark. So by adding another extra light down there, we can play around with that sort of effect. Probably push it a little bit forward. There we go. Now here's where one of the big things is gonna come into play, and we'll tweak it, of course. We're gonna add atmospheric fog, and this is immediately gonna make things look creepier. Atmospheric fog is one of those things that makes everything look really, really cool. And this is the the place. That's a great question, Non. So when you spend time with your family, that's the sad part for artists, that they get less time to spend with their family. So yeah, the good thing is since I'm self-employed, I do have a lot of flexibility. So sometimes I'm not gonna work on the evening, and I'll just spend time with my family. Weekends, usually I spend time with my family. Right now, some of them are still sleeping. My wife, I think, is still sleeping. So yeah, I do spend time with my family. I've actually been working more on that, like work-life balance, because unfortunately, as you mentioned, artists, we do tend to spend too much time on our art and not a lot of time enjoying the benefits of it. Am I still connected with Nalin? Yeah, Nalin is the chief. He's the director of Nexttut. I'm just one of the. Well, I think my title is right now the head artist or the main artist. But there's a lot of other artists working on the premium courses and stuff. It's just that I'm in charge of the YouTube, so I'm like the face of the channel right now. Raheen says, what software is currently used for the software industry? Maya, ZBrush. Those are like your go-to softwares right now. If you want to learn 3D, you can start with those. Those are great ways to start. And we do have our courses down here if you want to check them out. Oh, Zithan, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to help you there. I'm not super well versed on like formats and conversions. I usually just do JPEGs at the end of the day, or like an MP4. I know EXR renders are really good, but they tend to be quite heavy, so we don't use them as much as I would like to, because we don't have anyone like who specializes on color correction and things like that here at the studio. So I'm not sure about that. I don't know how to change that. Sorry. Yeah, photorealistic is high demand because there's a lot. See, stylized art it's tricky. It's not as easy, but it can become a crutch. So I do think it's good to know a little bit of both, to be honest. Luis Santana he wants to be like Su Jung. I don't know the artist. Art Station. Su Jung. This I would say is realistic, man. I mean, I know it looks like semi-stylized, but you need the foundational things from realistic stuff. So anatomy, proportions, all that kind of stuff, you would definitely need. I mean, Blur is one of the best studios out there for this sort of stuff. So yeah, is it the same one or is this another one? No, this is concept art. Hopefully that was the one. I don't have any semi-realism, man. I don't think I have. Most of the stuff, it's either like realistic or not. So yeah. Hi, Vishal. Greetings to India as well. Rakesh asks, what Nalin currently doing? Can 3D artists become millionaire because Nalin purchased a new BMW? I'm not aware of Nalin's recent purchases, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. I know Nexttut is one of the companies he has or he owns. I'm honestly not sure if he does anything else. Yes, you can make good money as a 3D artist and you can like get some nice stuff. I consider myself to be quite lucky in that regard because we're able to have a nice lifestyle here in Mexico. So it is possible, but it's always good to have like a couple of other options, right? Like if you're just a 3D artist working at the studio, it's going to be a little bit trickier. If you do freelancing on the side and you do other stuff, if you try to be a little bit of an entrepreneur here and there, you might be able to get, again, other types of results. Bringing SolidWorks files into Maya. Oh, it's not easy, man. Because I think SolidWorks tends to be... it tends to do like curves, right? Like NURBS. So you need to convert those to polygons first and then bring them into Maya. I'm going to do a quick window frame for this one. So I'm just going to grab the whole thing right here. I'm going to hit Control E to extrude. I'm going to offset this a little bit to create the frame. And then I'm going to select those faces right there. Edit mesh, or sorry, mesh, separate. No, not separate, sorry. Edit mesh and then extract. There we go. So now that object, hey, edit mesh, extract. There we go. So that's a different object now. I'm just going to Control E, push this forward to create the frame of the window. I'm going to grab the borders and the corners. And I'm going to bevel. 2 segments and a small fraction. You know, that's my go-to effect. There we go. And I do want to add like some beams. So I'm going to create a new cube here. Make it thin. Get it in there. Push this up. Let's do Control D. Let's do like a big center window and like smaller windows there. And then we'll rotate this around 90 degrees. I'll answer more questions in just a second. And we'll push this to create this sort of effect right here. Probably make this a little bit thinner. Grab them all, and I'm gonna just bevel everything there. That one I'm actually gonna leave exactly that. Grab this whole thing, combine into a single one. I'm not gonna texture this, I'm just gonna export selection. This is gonna be window. I mean, I'm gonna give it the material, but it's just gonna be like a basic material because it's really dark. File, import, and we import the window frame. There we go. So it's just a small little detail there that's gonna help. We can even use the same wood like pattern because it's gonna be dark. And that thing should do a couple of things. First of all, it should help us add some visual interest there on the window side of things. And the other thing that it should do is if we, because you can see that there's light coming from the outside, right? But if we go here again, I'm gonna rotate this. There we go. I'm gonna rotate this around so that the reflection is hitting the character right there, here. And what I can do is I can find this angle right here. I'm gonna place a new light. And as you can see, this new light is gonna create the shadows of the window. I'm gonna make this thing go closer. And we can see the shadows of the window being projected onto the wall, right? I'll answer in just a second, guys. Let me just move on with this a little bit. There we go. So now, of course, we're gonna bring the brightness down. And I'm gonna increase the diameter. This is gonna soften the shadows. It's gonna be some nice soft shadows right there. And this can give us a different feel. Of course, this is a little bit more light. I'm even tempted to go to our original like sky. Just create or lower the intensity there. There we go. Okay, let's see. Sujuing was it? Sujuing? I can't find it. Or just Sujuing 3D. Oh no, I'm not seeing things, man. I'll have to look at other time, but yeah, most of the times it's just the fundamentals of 3D are always important, so no, I'm not jealous. I'm really surprised and happy for Nexttut that I'm following these people from since a long time when the link started Nexttut. Yeah, I mean, thanks to you guys, the community has grown quite a bit. We are at 30,000 followers now. Last year when I started with the videos, we were at like 14, I think. So we've doubled in just a year, which I think is great. 3D is quite a niche, right? Like not a lot of people do 3D. So we've been growing quite a bit, and thanks to that, I've been able to provide to my family. I'm sure Nalin has gotten some good revenue as well. But it's all thanks to you guys. So again, thanks for the support there. Which format do you use to render a sequence from C-depth effect render in Maya? I don't use a lot of C-depth effect, but if I had to, I would probably do multi-channel EXR, which is what you mentioned, right? In your experience, how do you control your mood when you do something? Do you mean the light mood, or do you need my own mood, like how to stay motivated and stuff like that? Gary says, no, for the realistic on the whole character, 3D is to the max for hard surface, ZBrush for organic, Exgen for hair, Marvel's the same for clots, SYC for texturing, RAF 4D. Yes, that's right. About my lifestyle, that's a really interesting question. What specifically do you mean about my lifestyle? Like, if you have specific questions, like, I'll be happy to answer them, but I'm not exactly sure what I mean. I'm just a normal dude. I'm 30 years old. I started 3D when I was 19. I've been doing this for 11 years. But other than that, I'm just a normal dude. I need to go to the gym, that's for sure. I'm really fat. I need to improve there. So lifestyle, take care of your bodies. Last year I had a very nasty operation. I had an appendicitis. And it was in part because of my eating habits. Because I was not eating properly. So make sure you have water. Got my water here now. And make sure you try to eat healthy. Make sure you try to go out for some exercise. Because unfortunately we spend a lot of time in front of the computer. And that can also be damaging to our bodies, right, as a whole. So I'm gonna grab these 2 blocks that I have right here. These are gonna be my doors. And I think we do need a door frame as well. So I'm gonna do the same technique. I'm just gonna grab this edges right here, which I need to manually grab. I'm gonna hit Control E and I'm just gonna scale in. Oh. I'm gonna get rid of soft selection. Oh. There we go. Control E and just scale in. Something like this. Grab the faces here. What happened there? Oh, I made a mess there. Double extrude. Let's go back. There we go. Okay, so now we grab this. Control E. Just extrude in a little bit. Just make sure this looks as nice as possible. And then mesh this mesh to no edit mesh, and we're gonna extract the faces. There we go. And we just extrude these things out. There we go. So I know these are not like super exact doors, right? As you can see right there, they're not perfect. But we can just play around with the shapes a little bit. It's mainly because I want to make sure that there's some nice like forms to the whole thing. So same for this one. I'm just gonna like push it and get it closer there, because they're gonna be on the background. I'm actually gonna be blurring the camera in just a second. I'm gonna say File, Export Selection. Let's call this Doors. File, Import Doors. There we go. And to those doors, let's just add the same like dark wood material that we have right here. As you can see, pretty much invisible. We don't see them. They're just gonna be there to modify the whole thing. Are you making a scene for a game for Halloween? No, we're not. Tomorrow we're gonna have another thing. I want to do a stylized texturing for the pumpkin. So I'm gonna show you a couple of tricks inside of Substance to give it this sort of like hand painted effect. But yeah, that's it. Abraham, when is this new character course will come out? It's gonna come out roughly mid November. I'm still like working on that one. But yeah, it's gonna be like mid-November. 30.1. What do you mean, Telham? My age? 30.1. 3D Studio Max still use yes. How do you how to stay motivated? It's hard. It is hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those things that that you need to kind of like develop a sense of discipline. I would say I'm really disciplined with my work, and I try to always like finish what I start. Not always, right? Some of you guys remember the Lighthouse. We haven't been able to finish that project, but most of the times it's about like just sitting down and doing your job. There's a famous quote, I think, by Picasso, and he said that inspiration will find you while working. So you need to be working to get that sort of like a inspiration that people talk about. I'm gonna do one quick thing here. I'm gonna go to my camera, and I'm gonna use focus. So I'm gonna use my depth of field. It's gonna be a ray traced depth of field, which is like the fancy one, and we can use this things to focus on my character here, and then we can bring the depth of field down, and as you can see, everything is gonna become blurry except for the character. So this is a really good way to get it. Now it's very like difficult to find like a super low focal length. That this is not something that you would normally find on a camera. So something like a 1.4 is I think is something interesting. You can play around with the bouquets. I don't think we really need to do that much. And the focus distance right now seems fair. So as you can see, the door back in the distance, we're not even gonna see it because it's gonna be blurred, right? I am gonna go to the fog. I want to change a couple things here. So dispersion is how much light we get. Opacity, we can change the opacity a little bit because I don't want that these beams of light that we're getting, it's a little bit too much. So I can lower this a little bit here on the lights, and I can increase it a little bit on the ambient so that we get like more global fog. So I don't mind having this, but it's a little bit too harsh, and that's also coming from the light. So we can go here to the lights, and we might be able to change the spot sharpness a little bit. Let's see if that helps. You can also see it on this one. And we can increase the angle just a little bit. Let's reduce. There we go. Like a really soft angle, man. There we go. We bring the sharpness down, and that should give us a nicer effect. Cool. That's not bad, I would say. I like this. It says, maybe in the lower years you're going to see yourself in the mirror. We're almost the same person. Gary, oh nice, you're a lead character artist, that's great. And yeah, as Gary says, Maya, 100%. Am I going to do the final render in Arno? No, this is the final render. It's Marmoset. We're trying to do it in this one right here. I'm gonna go to the sky, and I'm gonna use blurred sky. Let's increase the brightness here. And let's lower the backdrop blur. No, not blur sky. Let's do ambient sky. Or just color. Can we keep the color? No, not color. Just let's keep just the normal sky. So I want to see if we can change the look here a little bit. There we go. Now, we have this, and I really like how this looks. I'm gonna go back to perspective or to the main camera. I do think the darkness, or it's a little bit too dark here. So I'm thinking about adding another light, like coming from the front, and like from this corner. Something like this, I think. Just so that we can see a little bit of the blood. But it's definitely gonna be a big diameter. So the shadow is blurred. And it's definitely gonna be way, way, way less intense. It's just like a bounce light coming from the bottom. I don't know, we can imagine maybe the character dropped like a flashlight, and the flashlight is shining straight towards her. Let's bring the spot angle in. There we go. Let's bring the spot sharpness down. Actually up. I'm also gonna go for like a blue hue. It's a little bit too much color. Let's bring this down. Let's increase the angle and decrease the brightness. It's just a little bit of light there, you know, just a little bit of a touch is what we want. Yes, all of the streams are on the channel, guys. All of the streams are on the channel. You just need to look for them. I always mention this, but people, I don't know why it's so difficult to find them. I've actually like struggle with that as well. But if you go to the channel and you go to playlists, you're gonna find one, or if you go to videos, sorry, down here, I think, no, where are they? Or lives? Lives, there you go. So if you go to live, you're gonna find all of the live that we've done. Like, we did one at the end of last year and stuff, so this one's gonna be saved right here at the end. So yeah, all of the lives are being saved. Cool. So I think we're in a good place. I think we're almost done with this one. And we are going to be working with the post-production part, the final post-production thing. We just make sure that we don't have any messages and stuff. No? Okay. Wow, we've been doing this for 1.5 hours. Nice. So I'm going to go back to the camera. Let's jump to our main camera here. There we go. So this is our shot, right? This is what we're going for. And the last thing I want to do is I want to play a little with post effects, because post effects are a really good way to add like extra oomph to the whole thing. So post effects are like the effects that you will normally see inside of Instagram and stuff like that. So I'm gonna, for instance, increase the exposure just a little bit so that we can see a little bit more, probably like a 1.1. I'm gonna go to this guy and I'm gonna increase the tiling of the texture even more, because we were seeing like a really weird normal map here on the wall. That should be a little bit better. I am going to increase the contrast a little bit as well. I am going to lower the saturation to make this like an old film effect. I'm going to increase the sharpen. 3D tends to soften things quite a bit, so I'm going to increase the sharpness. Bloom, it's not something that I like to add as much, but maybe just a little bit of bloom might not be bad. Vignette, definitely. So I'm gonna create a very soft, like, vignette going over the whole thing, like this. Grain, I never like to add grain. That's a no-no for me. And here's where things can get a little bit interesting. Am I gonna finish the lighthouse project? I'm gonna be completely honest. No, I'm not gonna finish the lighthouse project, but I'm gonna give you another surprise. I'm gonna restart the lighthouse project. So I'm gonna start over and teach new techniques, because most of the things that I was teaching there are now obsolete, so they no longer work, especially in Unreal Engine. So I want to start it over because it's a great project. Of course, I'm not gonna do all of the objects again. Like, some of them are working all right already, but I am gonna be doing it again. So there you go. Back window is a bit distractive, you think? Do we remove it? Should we just, like, take it out? What do you guys say? Should we remove the back window? Or we could add, like, a glass pane, maybe? Or just, like, make it darker? Because I do want some extra light to be coming from outside. That's why we have that window. Or we move the... No, that's a little bit weird. We can blur it a little bit more. Maybe make it smaller window? I don't know. Could work. Let's try it. Let's try it. So I'm gonna go back to Maya. And I'm gonna create just a window glass. It's gonna be back here. Let's do 90 degrees. Let's push it back. There we go. File, export selection is gonna be a glass pane. File, import, glass pane. There we go. So if we change the transmission to refraction, that's now gonna be, oh, not that one, the glass pane. Let's, yeah, okay. So let me go to my main camera so we don't mess with this thing. Let's assign a new material. It's gonna be the glass right there. And that glass is gonna be refraction. So now it's gonna be like a window, right? And then what we can do is we can change the color of the window to like a dark color, or maybe like a green dark color. That looks interesting. We can change the refractive index or the absorption. Yeah, that looks interesting, right? Like a spooky green. That looks better. Do you like that better? Yeah, if your FPS is working a little bit weird there, yeah, then you might need a new graphics card. Red, a bit more ominous, like a creepy looking. We still get some nice shadows here. Yeah, I think I like that. I like that. I'm asking these types of questions if I'm in a bad mental health. I'm a 3D student. 3D has not started yet in my school. I'm afraid about my 3D future. Can I get a great life to my family in the future? Yes, I mean, the good thing about 3D, guys, is that 3D is a specialized work, right? Like, when you are a 3D artist, and if you're a good 3D artist, which most of you have at least the, let's say, the motivation to be watching this type of content and learning, that can get you a nice professional work. Now, are you gonna be making the same amount of money? Oh my god. Give me just 1 second. Are you gonna be making the same amount of money like a neurosurgeon or like someone who owns like 1 billion companies? No, that's the reality of things. we're not going to be making that sort of money. But if you are a good 3D artist, you are going to get a nice job. It's going to be a fun job. It's going to be a job that you enjoy, and hopefully you're going to be able to have a good life. Most of my 3D artists have a good life. We're specialized artists, so we do things that not everyone can do, and that of course means that you can get a little bit more payment than what you would normally get from other types of sources. I'm gonna bring this. This is gonna be like a light coming from the door, so it's gonna be on the back of the character. Just gonna give her like a nice rim light there, but I don't want to affect the walls as much. Let's see how that looks. That looks interesting. Maybe just a little bit, right? You can see the difference. This is without and this is with. There's just a like little bit of extra highlights on some parts of the character. I might need to bring the fog down a little bit so we can see it, but I think that helps. 3D learner, what is your specialization in 3D? That's a really important, interesting question. A couple of years ago, I would have said that I'm a 3D character artist, but to be honest, even though characters are the thing that I enjoy doing the most, I would consider myself a generalist now. Because I know a little bit about everything. Like nowadays, in the morning, I was mentioning my routine when I wake up and I come here to the studio. I'm doing a lot of programming. Like, what the hell, right? I'm doing a lot of like programming and audio things for the VR experiences that we're doing. So it's a really weird thing, but it's what I'm doing. I'm gonna go to the camera now and just final touches. I want to go to my curves. Curves are really important because we can again play around with interesting things here. Well, one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push the floor up a little bit, just so we don't see the weird like gray thing that we had back there. And we can play around with the curves to get a really nice, interesting effect here. I can go, for instance, to the red curve, and if we push the red curve down, everything's gonna become like a blue, right? We lose red, and if we bring it the other way, we get red into the scene. So what we can do here, just a little bit of color correction. I wouldn't even call it color correction, but I can say, hey, you know what? I want there to be more blues on the shadows, and I want there to be a little bit more reds on the highlights. And I can do the exact same thing on the blues. So I can say I want more blues on the shadows and less blues on the highlights, right? And you can see the curve here. And I can push, for instance, the darks a little bit higher and the lights a little bit lower. It's going to create a different vibe. And the curves are really powerful because you can get some really, really interesting effects as you're seeing right here without that much work. You can, of course, like use some like presets here. They're not that great. Whoa. Or you can just clear it. If it's a little bit too much, you can just clear and start from scratch. I think I just want a little bit there. Just very, very subtle change there. Citan, yes. I'm gonna take that into consideration. I'm not super well versed on the camera tracking, but I'll see what I can do. 3D learner, how to start your own 3D studio? If I'm a 3D artist and I want to make some more money than a freelancer, how you open your own 3D profitable studio? That's a tricky question. So, one thing that I've learned is you can't do everything yourself, right? It's very difficult. So what you need to do is try to surround yourself with people that are interested in doing what you want to do, and be able to negotiate with that. So my partner right now at Hyperlab, the studio, he's older. He's like 45, I think. So he has more experience in the local industry. He knows more people than I do, and he's really good at making those connections. So I'm the producer. I'm producer 3D, and he's the businessman, right? He makes the deals. He makes sure that we get paid, and he makes sure to keep things rolling. But I know that by doing that, well, we need to split things 50-50. He gets half of the money, I get half of the money, and that's one way that we've been able to grow as a studio, because we understand that we each have different strengths, and we're going to be able to do or to get better contracts by doing that. So that would be one of my suggestions. Like, try to get people that are in your same mindset that want to create something. Create alliances with those people so that you can get better clients and move from there. Like the big clients won't, like if you try to go to a big company, right? Like I don't know, I'm just gonna make a big example. Let's say Coca-Cola, right? Like your local Coca-Cola distributor. They are looking for someone to do marketing campaigns. If you're just a single artist, they're not gonna hire you. But if you're a studio and there's like 5, 10 artists that are working for the same goal, it's gonna be a lot easier to hire those like that studio, because there's more professionalism or more certainty that they're gonna be doing a good job, right? So it is tricky. I'm not sure if I'm the best person to be giving these advices out, but that's one way you could try and get around that. Let's go. Finally, I think that we're ready to wrap this up, guys. So I'm gonna go here to rendering, and I'm gonna change a couple of things here. So I'm gonna increase the samples. I'm gonna say like 1024. The CPU, I'm gonna change the noise to GPU and see if we can get a nicer result. Because one of the problems with ray tracing and denoiser and stuff like that, I'm gonna change this to. I'm gonna lower the denoiser strength because it tends to blur things out quite a bit. So I'd rather like not use that. A little bit of ambient occlusion won't hurt. Some local reflections won't hurt. Let's just position our camera for a nice render. Something like this, I think, looks nice, so we can see the whole body. And we're ready. We're just gonna hit render here. I'm just gonna say render viewport to clipboard, and wait a little bit. When are you coming to Discord? I do have a Discord, guys, for my own studio, for Critical Hit. Some of you have actually found it, but the thing is, I don't have enough time to be answering as many questions. If we had a Discord, if I had gave a personal Discord away, it would be really difficult to keep up with all of the questions, because there's a lot. I have a lot of students here in Mexico. I have a lot of students with you guys. So I don't want to do a Discord and then not have people helping me with that, like, support channel, so that people can work with that. Someone is saying that the red doesn't fit. It's fine. We can change it to green. Let me just see how this looks first. There we go. Yeah, I think red is also a little bit too much. Maybe too distracting. Let's try green, but let's try like a soft green, something like that. And again, let's render viewport to clipboard. Yeah, I understand, man. Life is it's such a it's so complex, right? Like there's so many things in life that make things, I wouldn't say bad, but difficult to work around. If you have the opportunity to look for a better job or for a different job, I would go for that. I've sometimes said no to works or to clients when I know they're going to be really conflictive and really difficult to work, because I do value my mental health, right? As someone is suggesting there, Hitesh, is just chill, just relax. I think unfortunately social media and all of these things, they have put a lot of pressure and stress on us to be successful very young and make sure we have all of the best things and stuff. I try to have the mindset of just be happy with what you have. Of course, strive for something better if you want to, but you don't need the like a mansion. You don't need to own a jet or a boat, right, to be happy. There's so many other things in life that make you happy. Right here on my side, I have all of my D&D stuff, like my hobby. And I'm happy with that. Like just being able to paint and build stuff. I'm really happy. Let me see if I can show you what I'm building. This is a gift I'm doing for my brother. He's gonna be his birthday is coming up very, very soon. Let me see if I can show it. It's a mess, so you're gonna have to forgive that. Let's see if it shows there. So I'm building him a D&D screen. Let me make this full screen. There we go. So I'm building a D&D screen with like a pink foam and stuff. You can see it right there. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me happy. Like, I know I don't need to buy him like a $5,000 gift by building him that, I know he's gonna be happy. He's gonna appreciate it, and that's the kind of stuff that I do nowadays. Like when I feel him down or depressed or under the weather, I just like to just go to my hobbies, do stuff, and be happy. I'm listening to you, Iswari. Don't worry, I'm listening. I know that your workplace is I'm listening that your workplace is really toxic. If you're the manager and no one's listening to you, I would scale that to the next guy, like to your boss, and say, "Hey, something's wrong here. I need help." Like it's okay to ask for help in those kinds of situations, because I know how frustrating that can be. I can't give you a specific answer because I don't know your workplace, but I know that taking like extreme measures sometimes, like firing people, could be something important. Usually when there's a toxic environment, that's because there's like one or two people that make it toxic, and sometimes the best decision is to get rid of them. Like fire them if you have the authority. Yes, work is gonna get harder because you're gonna have to find new people to cover for them, and sometimes they're really talented artists, unfortunately, that are really toxic. But it could be a good decision on the long run. So there we go. Green screen now. Or not green screen, green window. So here in Photoshop, I would even go one step further, and I would do a little bit of tweaking here. So for instance, I think doing a little bit of sharpening might not be a bad idea. So I'm going to do sharpen, smart sharpen. Just a little bit of extra sharpen there. So I can see that things are a little bit soft in certain areas. We could, of course, render this at a higher resolution. Something like that should work just fine. Especially because this is like a full body shot, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I think that's it for me for now. I would like to, of course, thank every one of you for sticking for the past almost 2 hours, 1 hour 4 minutes. That's a nice live stream, right? I'm gonna try. I always say this, right? I'm gonna try to fit more live streams onto my schedule, but as we've just been talking about, it can get tricky with a lot of the stuff that we're doing. But stay tuned. Tomorrow we're gonna have another video. It's the final Halloween video. I'm gonna texture the little pumpkin that we did the first day, and tomorrow is the final submission for our weapon contest. We're gonna be giving the winners in the next couple of days. So tomorrow is the last day to do that. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I've had a great time today. Great questions. Have a great Sunday for those of you that are on the Western Hemisphere. For those of you who are on the Eastern Hemisphere, then have a good night. I know it might be a little bit late over there for you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you back on the next one.